The eyes in the dark. Ryland sat in the pilot chair of his old cargo ship, the Iron Raven. The stars outside looked calm. Space was quiet. Too quiet. He had flown this route many times, solo trips across deep space. No crew, no backup. Just him, his eye, and the silence. But this trip felt different. It started 2 nights ago. A soft tapping on the outside wall of the ship. It was faint, like something brushing against the metal. Ryland had thought maybe it was space dust or small debris, but the same sound came again the next night. Same time, same place. Tonight, he was ready. He stayed awake, sitting still in the dark, lights off. The ship hummed softly. His hands rested on the console. The AI, KRA, was silent. She had scanned the ship multiple times. No signs of damage. No life forms. Nothing strange. But Ryland didn't trust the scanners anymore. Then, tap, tap, tap. His heart jumped. The same sound. Near the rear airlock. 3 short taps. Then silence. He didn't move. Just listened. KRA, run a thermal scan. Rear section. Now. The AI responded in her calm voice. Scan complete. No heat signatures detected. But Ryland wasn't calm. His breath came faster. He slowly stood and picked up his flashlight. He moved down the hallway, quiet as a shadow. The lights flickered, just for a second. That's when he saw it. At the end of the hallway, near the engine room window, something moved. Fast, just a blur. He raised the flashlight and ran. But when he reached the spot, nothing. No sound. No movement. Just the cold hum of the ship. KRA, check camera feed. Did you see that? Reviewing footage. No movement detected, Ryland. He looked around. His eyes caught the window. Outside, the stars blinked. But something else blinked too. A pair of glowing blue eyes. They were there for only a moment, watching him. Then they vanished. Ryland stepped back, his chest tight. That was no trick of the light. Something, someone, was out there. But how? The ship was alone. There were no space stations nearby. No planets. No other ships. Just empty blackness. And yet, every night, it happened. The taps. The movement. The eyes. He tried to sleep, but each time he closed his eyes, he felt it again, being watched. He began speaking out loud, hoping for a response. If you're out there, I'm not your enemy. No answer. I don't know what you want, but this is my ship. Still, nothing. The next morning, he found something strange. On the inside of the airlock door, drawn with something like frost, was a mark. A small circle with lines through it. Not human writing. Ryland stared at it. It hadn't been there yesterday. Kara, who opened the airlock last night. No logs of airlock activity. It remained sealed. He touched the mark. It was cold. Real. That's when he stopped thinking it was all in his head. He was not alone on the Iron Raven. Later that day, he checked every corner of the ship. Every supply room, every vent, every panel. Nothing. Then he had an idea. He placed a small mirror on the wall across from his bed. At night, if something entered, maybe he'd see it in the reflection. And that night, he did. Just past midnight, he woke with a chill. He looked at the mirror. There was a figure standing in the hallway. Tall, thin, unmoving. The figure had no suit, no helmet, just long limbs and a faint blue glow around the body. He turned quickly to look, but nothing was there. He looked back at the mirror. Gone. Was he dreaming? Was it real? He couldn't tell anymore. But he was sure of one thing. She was watching him. Every night. From the shadows of his ship. The visitor. Ryland didn't sleep after what he saw in the mirror. He sat on the edge of his bunk, hands gripping the sheets. His mind played the moment again and again. the tall, glowing figure in the hallway, gone the second he turned. "Am I losing it?" he whispered to himself, but deep down he knew. He wasn't. He had seen something. Someone. The next morning, the mirror was cracked. A clean, perfect line down the center, like someone had touched it with something hot. But there were no signs of damage anywhere else. HFY checked the logs again. Anything at all? Movement? Sound? Anything weird? No unusual activity recorded, the eye replied. No hull breach. No life forms detected. Ryland shut off the console and stood. "You're wrong," he muttered. That day, he left his flashlight on all over the ship. He even dragged a chair in front of the airlock and sat there for hours. He watched the hallway, listened, waited. Nothing. But that night, it changed. Just past midnight, the emergency lights flashed. Only once. A red flicker. Then, the ship went silent. Completely. No hum. No buzz. Even KRA's voice went dead. Then came the sound. Hiss. Click. Hiss. The airlock was opening. Ryland jumped to his feet, his heart racing. "No, no, no. KRA. Lock it down," he shouted. But there was no answer. He ran toward the hallway, holding his laser cutter. The airlock door was halfway open. Cold mist poured in like fog. His breath came out in clouds. And then he saw her. A figure stepped through the mist. Tall, thin, barefoot, pale blue skin. Her body shimmered like starlight, glowing soft and cold. Her eyes, the same eyes from the window, locked on his. They didn't blink. They didn't flinch. Ryland froze. She didn't speak. She didn't move. She just stood there. His hand trembled, holding the cutter. But she didn't look scared. She didn't look angry either. Just tired, like someone who hadn't slept in years. I don't want trouble," Ryland said slowly. "Do you understand me?" The being tilted her head slightly. She looked at his face, then at his hand. Her eyes narrowed at the tool he held. Ryland quickly dropped it. "There. No weapon. Okay." She stepped forward. One step. Then another. The cold followed her like a shadow. Her body didn't touch the floor. She seemed to float just above it. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was soft, broken, like she hadn't used it in a long time. "You are human." Ryland blinked. Yeah, I'm Ryland." "Who? What are you?" She didn't answer. Instead, she turned and walked past him down the hallway. Ryland followed slowly, keeping his distance. She moved like she had walked these halls before, like she knew the ship. She stopped near the window by the engine room, the same place he had seen her reflection. "I was here," she said. "Many nights." "Why?" he asked. She looked at the stars, to see if you would notice. Ryland felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you want from me?" She turned to face him. Her glowing skin seemed to dim slightly. Her voice dropped lower. "I was hiding." "Hiding from what?" Her body tensed. "Hunters." Suddenly, the ship's power returned. Lights blinked on. Kara's voice returned. Systems restored. Minor power disruption detected. Ryland looked around confused. How had she done that? The alien woman flinched at the sound of the AI. Then she looked back at Ryland. "They are searching. If they find me, they destroy everything." "You brought danger here," Ryland said, taking a step back. "I had nowhere else to go." Her voice shook, just a little. She moved past him and opened a hidden panel in the wall. One Ryland didn't even know existed. Behind it was a small crawl space, dark and empty. "I sleep here," she said. He stared in silence. She had been here, on his ship, for days, maybe weeks. Watching, hiding, listening. He wanted to shout, to demand answers, to throw her out. But instead he asked, What's your name? She looked at him for a long time before answering. Salia. Ryland slowly sat down on the floor across from her. What are you running from, Salia? She didn't reply, just looked away. And then, in a voice that sounded like a whisper on cold glass, she said, From myself. She speaks. For hours, Ryland sat on the floor of his ship, just staring at the strange being who called herself Salia. She sat curled up in the corner of the small hidden space behind the wall. Her knees were pulled close to her chest. Her glowing skin had dimmed, and her long silver hair fell across her face like a veil. She had said only one thing before going quiet. From myself. That sentence stayed in Ryland's mind like a cold echo. He wanted to ask more. So many questions burned inside him. What was she? What had she done? Why did she choose his ship? But now wasn't the time. She looked broken, tired, like someone who had been running forever. So Ryland just stayed there, sitting on the floor, leaning against the wall, arms crossed, watching, waiting. Hours passed. The ship moved through deep space on autopilot. KRI gave soft status updates, but Ryland ignored them. His focus stayed on her. Finally, Salia shifted. Her glowing fingers moved slowly as she reached for something tucked into the side of the crawlspace, a small device, no bigger than a human palm. It had strange symbols on it. Not human, not any known alien language. She held it gently, like it was precious. Then, without looking at Ryland, she spoke. Her voice was a soft whisper again. You don't have to be afraid of me. Ryland blinked. You've been sneaking around my ship for nights, watching me sleep. I think a little fear is fair. She looked up, her glowing eyes meeting his. I watched because I wanted to remember. Remember what? What peace looked like. That answer hit Ryland like a slow wave. He didn't know what to say. She placed the small device on the floor between them. It lit up, and a 3D image floated above it, blurry, like a memory. It showed a planet, blue skies, tall silver trees, water that flowed upward into the air. My home, she said, before everything changed. Ryland leaned closer. What happened to it? She closed her eyes. My people were born to fight. We lived for war. We thought we were better than others, smarter, faster, stronger. She paused. Her voice shook a little. We took what we wanted, from many planets, including yours. Ryland stiffened. You fought humans. I was a warrior, a scout. My mission was to watch and report, then help destroy. She opened her eyes again, full of sorrow. But when I watched your kind, I couldn't do it. You were not weak like we thought. You were kind. You built things, loved deeply, fought hard, but not for power, for each other. Ryland didn't know how to respond. He thought of the wars humanity had survived, the peace that had taken centuries. The cost. I left my post, Salia said. I helped a human escape. I broke the code of my people. And they turned on you? Ryland asked. She nodded slowly. I became a traitor. They hunted me. I ran. I found your ship, empty, quiet. I stayed. Ryland stood and walked over to a storage locker. He pulled out a water packet and tossed it gently toward her. She caught it with fast reflexes but looked confused. It's clean, he said. Drink. She stared at the packet, then slowly placed it to her lips and sipped. Her hands trembled slightly. You've been eating the emergency rations, haven't you? He asked. She gave a tiny nod. I took small pieces, so you wouldn't notice. I noticed, Ryland said with a slight smirk. But I thought I was just losing my mind. Silence filled the room again. But this time it was different. It wasn't fear or confusion. It was understanding. After a while, Salia asked, Why haven't you turned me in? Ryland looked at her. I probably should, but something tells me you're not the monster your people think you are. She smiled for the first time. It was small, sad, but real. Then she stood. Her body still shimmered faintly. She walked toward the hallway. "Where are you going?" Rylan asked. "I want to see the stars. Not from a crawl space, but with you." They stood side by side at the large front window of the cockpit. Stars stretched across the void like rivers of light. Saleya spoke again, softer now. "I used to think the stars were endless hunting grounds, places to conquer. And now, I see them as places to hide, to heal." Rylan looked at her. "You don't have to hide anymore. Not on this ship." She turned to him, her eyes no longer cold. They were warm now, curious, maybe even hopeful. "You trust me?" she asked. "Not fully," Rylan said, "but I'm starting to." She nodded. "Then I will tell you everything." And in that quiet moment, surrounded by stars, for the first time, Saleya began to speak. The truth she hides. For the next few days, the Iron Raven felt different. Saleya no longer hid behind the walls. She still walked softly, still spoke little, but she was now present. She moved quietly through the ship's narrow halls, often standing near windows, watching the stars with quiet eyes. Rylan wasn't used to sharing space with anyone, especially not a glowing alien fugitive, but he was starting to adjust. Slowly. They didn't talk much at first, but every day she spoke a little more. She told him about her people, the Aelari, a race built for perfection, trained from birth to fight, hunt, and dominate. She said they believed emotions were weaknesses, that compassion was a disease. Rylan found it hard to imagine Saleya as a cold killer. But one night, he saw it. It was late. The ship's lights were dimmed. Rylan walked past the engine room and heard sharp metallic clicks. Quick, controlled, perfect movements. He peeked inside. Saleya was practicing with something. A weapon. Long and sleek, silver-black metal that shimmered like ice. It folded in and out like liquid, turning from a blade to a staff and back again. Her moves were fast, almost invisible. She spun, blocked, sliced the air. Not angry, just focused. Rylan didn't interrupt. He watched silently until she stopped and looked over. "You weren't supposed to see this," she said. "You're dangerous," Rylan said quietly. "I knew that already." She didn't deny it. "I was trained to kill with one hand. From age 6, I never failed a mission until Earth." She walked to the wall and sat down, placing the weapon beside her. Rylan joined her. "What did you do?" She looked at the floor, her voice low. "I was assigned to a human colony. To observe, then mark targets for airstrike." "You didn't mark them." She shook her head. "There was a child. A boy. He offered me food. I was disguised as a traveler. He smiled at me." She closed her eyes. "I couldn't do it. I left without giving the signal. My team found out. They tried to kill me. I barely escaped." Rylan let the silence settle, then asked, "That boy, do you think he's alive?" "I hope so," she whispered. Later that week, Rylan went to do a full systems check in the lower bay. It was a routine task, until he noticed something strange. One of the side panels near the power core was slightly open. He hadn't touched it. He pulled it off and froze. Inside was a metal box, glowing faintly with blue lines. He had never seen it before. It pulsed like a heartbeat, and it wasn't connected to the ship. He didn't touch it. "Saleya," he called out. She arrived within seconds, but the moment she saw what he'd found, her face changed. Panic. "You weren't supposed to find that," she said sharply. "What is it?" She stepped forward slowly, eyes on the box. "It's mine. I hid it when I first boarded." "What does it do?" Rylan asked, stepping between her and the device. Saleya looked at him. Her voice softened. "It's a signal damper. It bends space waves. It hides my presence. From my people. Your people? Ryland said, shocked. So they really are looking for you. They will always look for me, she said, because I did something worse than betrayal. Ryland's eyes narrowed. What do you mean? She hesitated. Her breath shook. I didn't just let the humans live. I stole something. She knelt near the box. This device is not just a shield. It is knowledge. A map. A list of every alien operation near Earth and other free worlds. If it falls into the wrong hands, there will be war. Ryland backed away slightly. Why bring it here? Why hide it on my ship? Because I was dying. I needed shelter. I thought your ship was empty. But then, I saw you. You watched me for weeks, Ryland said. Why not just ask for help? I wasn't sure you'd give it. Ryland didn't answer. He stared at the glowing device. Everything suddenly felt heavier. More dangerous. This thing, he said, is a target. If they find out it's here, they'll come, Salia finished. And they won't ask questions. That night, Ryland couldn't sleep. He sat alone in the control room, staring at the stars. He thought about Earth, about war, about Salia's glowing eyes and trembling voice. She had brought danger onto his ship. That was true. But she had also brought a chance to stop a war before it started. He stood and walked down the hall. Salia sat by the window, looking out into space. She didn't turn when he entered. After a long pause, he said, I'm not throwing you out, but we need a plan. She finally looked at him. You still trust me? Ryland nodded. Not fully. But I think you're telling the truth. And if you are, then we're already in this together. Salia smiled slightly. Her eyes no longer held fear. They'll come for it, she said. Soon. Then let them come, Ryland said, voice firm. But we won't make it easy. And in that moment, side by side, the runaway alien and the lone human pilot began to prepare for something far bigger than either of them had ever faced. Enemies in the void. The stars were no longer peaceful. For days, Ryland and Salia lived in a quiet tension. They ate together, sat together, spoke in low voices, but the weight of the hidden device, the glowing alien signal damper, hung between them like a silent countdown. Ryland tried to focus on flying, on staying off known patrol paths, on keeping the ship's systems clean and silent. But deep down, he knew they were coming. It started as a whisper in the ship's scanners, a pulse, small, soft, like a breath on glass. Then it came again, louder, stronger. Kara, report. What is that signal? Ryland asked, staring at the blinking light on his control screen. The AI's voice replied with an edge he'd never heard before. Unidentified ship approaching. No signal codes. No broadcast. No response to hails. Ryland leaned forward. Distance. 300,000 kilometers. Gaining fast. His stomach turned. No ship should be moving that fast unless it was military. And no ship should stay that quiet unless it wanted to kill. He looked toward the hallway. Salia. She appeared seconds later, eyes wide. They've found us, Ryland said. She didn't ask how. She already knew. She walked to the front window, her body glowing brighter now, like her instincts were waking up. Can you fight them? Ryland asked. Salia shook her head. Not alone, and not in this ship. He cursed under his breath and turned back to the screen. The enemy ship was now 100,000 kilometers away. Still silent. Still fast. Then the message came. Short. Cold. In her language. The screen flickered as alien letters scrolled across. KROA translated. Traitor. UAKV something that belongs to US. Surrender. Or BERASEAT. Ryland stood frozen. His hands curled into fists. They know, he said. They know about the device. Salia's voice was low. They won't leave survivors. Ryland slammed a button. KRA, activate full shielding. Shields online. But this ship was not made for battle. Rylan. He already knew that. The Iron Raven was a cargo vessel. Slow. Light armor. Basic weapons. Nothing more. Then we don't fight, he said. We run. The engines roared as the Iron Raven turned sharply and blasted away from the incoming ship. But the enemy was faster. It followed like a shadow. Salia stared at the display, her voice tense. That's a scout cruiser. Larry Viper class. They won't fire yet. They want to scare us first. Are you scared? Rylan asked, eyes still on the controls. Yes, she said softly. But I've been scared for a long time. Then the first shot came. A sharp red beam cut past the rear thrusters, sending a shockwave through the ship. The walls shook. Sparks flew. Warning. Hull integrity dropping. Starboard wing damage, KRI said. Rylan fought to keep the ship steady. His fingers moved fast, switching power to forward shields. But the enemy was toying with them, not aiming to kill yet. Another shot. Closer. Salia suddenly stood and placed her hands on the glowing box in the engine room. What are you doing? Rylan called. I can overload the device, she said. Send a false signal. Make them think we've ejected it. That sounds risky. If I'm wrong, it blows us apart. Rylan stared at her. That's comforting. She didn't smile. Just started working. Her fingers moved over the alien symbols like a pianist touching old keys. The hum of the device changed. Louder now. Sharper. The enemy ship slowed. They're reading the pulse, Salia said. They think we've launched the data core. She pressed one last button, and the device sent out a blinding flash of light. The Iron Raven suddenly turned again, diving into a nearby asteroid field. The cruiser fired, this time real weapons. Explosions followed. Rock and metal burst around them. Shields at 40%, KRI said. We won't survive another direct hit, Rylan muttered. Then Salia appeared beside him, holding her blade staff. If they board, I fight. And if they don't, he asked. Then I fight anyway, she said. Suddenly, the ship shook again. Harder. They hit the left engine, Rylan shouted. We're spinning. He grabbed the manual thruster controls and pulled. The ship leveled. Barely. But the enemy was still behind them. That's when Rylan saw it, on the scanner. A small moon nearby. Barely stable. Atmosphere thin, but breathable. Surface rough. We land there, he said. Salia didn't argue. Minutes later, the ship slammed into the rocky ground. Sparks flew. The hull screamed. Dust covered the windows. Silence. For a moment, everything stopped. No alarms, no gunfire, just the wind outside. Then, the sky above them darkened. The enemy ship hovered above. And it began to lower. Rylan stood beside Salia, both of them watching from the bridge window. She spoke, voice cold now. Strong. Clear. They sent a hunter unit. A what? A team designed to extract or destroy. No questions. No second chances. Rylan took a deep breath. So what happens now? She turned to him. Now we survive. Or we die together. The fight for trust. The enemy ship hovered above like a silent shadow. Rylan could see it clearly through the cracked front window. A sleek black cruiser, shaped like a blade. No lights. No symbols. Just pure threat. Inside the Iron Raven, the power was failing. One engine was dead. The shields were gone. The ship creaked under the pressure of the landing. And somewhere above them, a team of alien hunters was preparing to come down. Rylan stood in the dim control room, breathing hard. Sweat rolled down his neck. His hands gripped the edge of the console. Behind him, Salia paced. Her steps were fast, her glow pulsing with stress. We don't have much time, she said. They'll breach the ship soon. Rylan nodded but didn't speak. His mind was racing. Every escape plan ended the same. Failure. Saleya stopped and looked at him. "You're angry." Rylan turned. "Of course I'm angry. You brought this here. You hid on my ship. You dragged me into a war I don't even understand." Her face didn't change, but her eyes dimmed. She took a breath. "I didn't mean to." "But you did," Rylan snapped. "You told me the truth too late." "I was trying to protect you," she said quietly. "By lying. I thought if I gave you the truth, you'd leave me behind." He stared at her. "Maybe I would have. Maybe not. But at least I would have had a choice." She didn't reply. For the first time, she looked small. Not like a warrior, not like a glowing alien, just someone carrying too much pain. Raylan leaned against the wall, hands shaking. "What happens if they take you?" She looked up slowly. "Then they take the device and start the war I tried to stop." "What happens if they take me?" She swallowed. "They'll kill you. You know too much now." Rylan gave a dry laugh. "Great. So we're both dead." There was a long silence. Then Saleya walked to the corner and opened a small metal case he hadn't seen before. Inside were tools, wires, and a small glowing crystal. She sat cross-legged and began to work. Fast, focused. "What are you doing?" Rylan asked. "I'm going to fake the core's destruction," she said. "They'll scan the ship for the signal. I'll flood the ship with false data and make it look like the device exploded in the crash. Will that stop them? Maybe. It will confuse them. Give us time." Rylan watched her hands move. She was fast, skilled. Every wire she placed, every switch she flipped, it was all second nature to her. She wasn't just a warrior. She was a creator. "You used to build things, didn't you?" he asked suddenly. She paused. "Before the war, yes, I was an engineer." Rylan sat beside her. "Why did you stop?" She smiled faintly. "Because war is louder than creation, and fear is faster than hope." He didn't answer. He just sat with her. After a moment, she spoke again. "When I first entered your ship, I thought you were weak. Soft. I watched you eat, sleep, talk to yourself. I didn't understand why humans were feared. And now I know. You aren't weak. You're stubborn. You care, even when it hurts. You gave me water when I didn't ask. You talked to me when I was silent. That is rare." Rylan looked down. He didn't feel strong. He felt terrified. "I don't want to die out here," he said. "Neither do I," she replied. Suddenly, the ship shook again. A loud bang echoed through the halls. Then another, and another. "They're cutting through the hull," she said. Rylan jumped to his feet. "We don't have time." She stood too, holding the small device she had just finished building. "We do now. This will send a shockwave through the ship's core and mask everything. Our heat signatures, the real device, even our voices." She looked at him. "But once I activate it, they'll come inside blind. They'll search by hand." "Which means," Rylan said, "we'll have to hide. And if they find us, we fight." Rylan reached for the emergency kit and pulled out a basic pulse rifle. It was old, rusted, barely had a full charge. Saleya laughed quietly. "That won't help." "Then I'll throw it at them," Rylan said with a shrug. She stepped forward. "I won't let them take you." "And I won't let them take you," he said back. Their eyes locked for a moment. This was no longer just about survival. This was about trust. Broken things, both of them, now depending on each other to make it out alive. "Where do we hide?" Rylan asked. Saleya smiled. "Behind the place you'd least expect." She led him to the rear storage deck, behind the cooling vents. She pressed a hidden panel, and a narrow passage opened. Just enough for two. They climbed inside. The metal was cold. The air was thin. As she set the device on the floor between them, she turned to him. "If we survive this," she said. "Yeah. I'll tell you what I'm really running from. Rylan raised an eyebrow. This wasn't it. No, she said softly. There's something worse. Before he could ask, the device flashed. Silence fell. The lights went out, and the hunters stepped onto the ship. The last watcher. The ship was silent. No lights, no voice from the AI. Only cold metal and thick shadows. Ryland's breath came in slow, careful pulls. He sat beside Salia, deep inside the hidden crawl space near the rear of the ship. Her device hummed softly, casting a dull blue light. They could hear them now, the hunters. Footsteps, heavy, slow, not rushing, not afraid. These were killers who never lost. Ryland gripped the old pulse rifle. His hands were sweating. His heart slammed against his ribs like a drum. He could feel the danger crawling through the ship. Salia didn't move. Her body was still, like a statue. Her eyes closed. She was listening with something more than ears. They are 4, she whispered. 3 soldiers, 1 leader. How do you know? They don't mask their thoughts well. Not from me. You can hear their thoughts. She opened her eyes. Not words. Feelings. Rage. Pride. The leader is different. Cold. Very cold. No fear. Rylan nodded slowly. Can we fight them? No, she said. Not all. Not directly. Another loud bang echoed through the ship. Something heavy hit the floor in the hallway outside. The sound of alien metal armor scraping across walls filled the air. Why are they searching slowly? Rylan asked. They think we're already weak, hiding like animals. She frowned. They're enjoying this. Time passed. One of the hunters entered the engine room. Salia closed her eyes again. This one. He wants to burn everything. He's young, wild. Another entered the command deck. This one is focused, calculating, dangerous. The last soldier stopped near the crew quarters. And this one, cruel. He won't kill us fast. Ryland felt sick. But Salia suddenly tensed. Her eyes opened wide. A shiver ran through her body. The 4th. He's close. The leader. Footsteps echoed just beyond the wall. He knows, she whispered. He knows I'm near. Then a voice, calm, icy, rang through the ship. A deep, unnatural voice, speaking in their language. But somehow, both Rylan and Salia understood every word. Salia of the fallen, step out and kneel. We will end the human quickly, or we will make him beg. Rylan gritted his teeth. He talks too much. Salia stood. Her glow had returned, bright now. Alive. She looked stronger than ever. Her blade staff extended in her hand like flowing silver fire. I'll distract them, she said. You run. I'm not leaving you. If you don't, we both die. I don't care. You will if Earth burns because of me. Rylan grabbed her wrist. We can fight them together. She looked at him. I don't want to lose you. I've already lost too much. Then don't push me away, he said. Their eyes locked. For one long second, everything stopped. Then Salia turned, lifted her hand to the device, and whispered something in her own language. The ship responded. Lights flickered. Metal groaned. Her voice was low now, filled with pain. The device has one last use. A surge. It can open a gate. A gate. To somewhere far. It will take the hunters with me. But not you. It won't let humans pass through. Only those marked by Alari blood. Rylan's heart dropped. You're sacrificing yourself. She nodded. It's the only way. No, we find another way. There is no time. Rylan. Tears burned his eyes. Why? Why would you do this for me? She smiled. Because when I watched you from the shadows, I didn't understand you. But now I do. You gave me something I thought I'd lost forever. What? Hope. Suddenly, the wall exploded beside them. The hunters were here. Tall, armored, faces hidden behind black masks, weapons raised. Raylan lifted the pulse rifle, ready to fire, ready to die. But Salia stepped forward. Her body glowed like a star. Her staff spun in her hands like a blur of light. The lead hunter spoke. "Traitor, you choose the human over your own blood." She raised her staff. Yes. And then she attacked. The crawl space turned into a war zone. Sparks flew. Metal screamed. Salia moved like wind and lightning, striking, dodging, slicing. Rylan tried to help, but he was thrown back by a blast. "Get out," she shouted. He crawled toward the control room. Behind him, the ship trembled. The sound of battle roared. Then, a scream. Not hers. The device glowed brighter than ever. It hummed, then cracked the air with a sound like thunder. A gate opened. A swirling hole of blue and white light pulled at everything in the room. The hunters screamed. They tried to escape, but it was too late. One by one, they were sucked in. Salia stood at the edge. She looked back at Rylan, who had just reached the door. He reached for her. "Don't go. I have to." "No, we can still." She smiled through tears. "Live, Rylan. For me." And with that, she stepped into the light. The gate closed. Silence fell. The ship was still. The hunters were gone. And so was she. Days later, Rylan sat alone in the control room. The ship was repaired. The AI was back. The stars were calm again. But nothing felt the same. Every night, he stared at the windows. And then one night, when the stars were especially bright, he saw them. Two glowing blue eyes. Just for a second. And then they were gone. But he smiled, because he knew she was still watching. Not from the shadows anymore, but from somewhere beyond. The Last Watcher.